Kaustubha Das here with the big announcement for Wisdom of the Sages listeners. This August will be Ashram Month at the Super Soul Farm. Simple ashram living, rising early, morning kirtan, yoga and pranayama, healthy vegan and vegetarian meals, farm seva and being immersed in nature, and then gathering in the evenings for kirtan and readings. Plus, each week we'll have a lead presenter teaching a different facet of the philosophy and lifestyle of Bhakti-yoga. Week number 1 will be the exceptional Bhakti Lata teaching a course called The Beauty of Bhakti, bringing the culture of love and devotion into our lives. Week number 2 is my brother from another mother, Raghunath, teaching Falling in Love with Divinity, the Bhakti-yogi's method for opening the heart. And week number 3 is myself with a course called Following the Path, examining the history and teachings of Bhakti-yoga. You can come for 1, 2, or all 3 weeks, and the pricing is by donation. For more dates and information, go to wisdomofthesages.com/events. Peace.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
From Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath, and our co-host Kaustubha is off today because he's just recovering from COVID. So, yes, COVID. You know what I've noticed about COVID? There was like sort of different COVIDs. They're calling it COVID, but there's like different COVIDs.
The COVID you got was real.
The COVID I got was like, and the people got, I think, that first round or the second round. That was like,
Delta.
you might die.
When it was Delta.
You could die. You're out for 2 weeks. I remember a bunch of you guys got it too. I know Yogeshwari Cindy Lunsford got it. Out cold, has after effects forever.
Yeah.
Then there was like the Omicron you got, and you're like, I have no symptoms, but I got COVID, and we're going to shut down the entire economy. Okay, everyone got and then that one. Now this other one that Kaustubha got, it's like it's day 3, but it's sort of like the last 2 days. He says he's getting better. He said the first day was really bad.
Yeah.
So there's different versions of COVID, many different flavors. And we pray for Kaustubha. We love Kaustubha, and we miss Kaustubha. We had such a fun weekend, but we were all exhausted. And I tell you this, people, that last day after Jagannath Rath Yatra, I never do this. After Rath Yatra, I went to visit my brother in Brooklyn. I did a book report. I did an interview for his son. His son, my nephew, had to do a podcast for a school report. And he did an interview with me about Krishna consciousness.
Oh, wow.
Actually, my life story, but it all culminated in Krishna consciousness. And I think he might have become a devotee after that. He's like, this is completely fascinating.
That's cool. See what grade he gets on it.
Yes. And then I went to see my mother, who lives in New York City. And I slept for 11 and a half hours, and I never sleep. People know I'm like very anti-sleep. I slept for 11 and a half hours. And then the next day I came back and I slept for 8 hours or 9 hours. And that was yesterday. We took a day off. And I felt great. I felt incredibly, I feel strong. So I am COVID negative.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. And I pray for those who are COVID positive that it's easy. And but I will say that we had a big day planned with Raghunath Swami, and the whole thing got foiled because of COVID. And I was supposed to drive up Raghunath Swami to see Gopal Chandra, our good friend who's dying of cancer, our regular Zoomer, a young man, just turned 40 years old. And so I was looking forward to seeing Gopal with Raghunath Swami. And then it was so sweet. Raghunath Swami's in New York for only 10 days. And he's like, I want to go up and see Gopal. And I was like, oh, and I get the car ride all the way up. And so that was canceled. But because we were afraid, we might have COVID. And we didn't want to, even though we both tested negative. But he is coming up to see Gopal on Saturday. It's top secret. I'm not supposed to tell anybody, although
So
10,000 people are listening. But anyway, that it's yes.
Great.
Great. Isn't that great news?
Yeah. Can I say some announcements?
Yeah, announcements, please. I'm going to just move over.
Sorry. Let me hop over here. Okay. Bhakti recovery group meetings today at 1 and 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then tomorrow evening for our Patreon members, there's an asana class with Michelle Berger at 7 p.m. Eastern time. There's still spaces available for Wisdom of the Sages in Italy, right, Raghu?
Yep.
If you go to wisdomofthesages.com, look at our
Not
events page.
not
Yeah.
much, but there's like one or two.
And then do you want to announce PayPal donations for Lila?
Oh yeah. Our dear friend Lila Violassini, who got a little motorcycle accident. You know, sometimes a little accident. She's like, no, I'm totally fine. Now she's finding like the doctors are like, I can't move my arm, and I'm not going to be able to move my arm. So she had surgery, or I think she went into surgery yesterday, but she's got no money and she needs some rehab too. If anyone would like to donate to Lila Violassini, she's been on the show live interview day, and you know she's been a teacher for us. So, and anyone who's been to Vrindavan knows her.
She's an incredible story.
Incredible storyteller. I steal all my stories from her. But anyway, the Meryl put it up on the board. Her PayPal address, at least it's her sister's PayPal address, is Anna ANNA dot Tarasenko TARASENKO .83 at bk.ru. Anna Tarasenko .83 at bk.ru. So if you want to give a donation, anything from your heart, it really helps. And surgery in India, even though it's expensive for her, is completely cheap, which is why me and Mara are not going to be here tomorrow, because I've convinced Mara, because Mara's got some teeth issues. I convinced Mara to come with me to lovely monsoon season Costa Rica. Tomorrow, I'm leaving for Costa Rica, and I'm taking Mara with me because we are getting our teeth worked on. Oh, yes, dental implants, crowns, all for pennies on the dollar. This isn't a sales pitch, but this is what I do once every few years. We are doing what's called medical tourism, and we're getting our teeth fixed. I'm excited about it. It sounds exciting. We're going to Costa Rica for, you know, because people go for, what do you call it? Go to the rainforest and into the beach and go surfing. None of that. It's like, if you look at the weather report in Costa Rica, it's like thunderstorms all day long, 24/7. And San Jose, the city, is a little underwhelming, but we're just getting our teeth worked on, and I'm excited about that. I'm just excited to go somewhere. And
It's my first time in Costa Rica.
And it's your first time in Costa Rica, and it was a cheap plane flight too.
Yeah.
Super cheap plane flight. But anyway, yeah, all the great things of Costa Rica you will not experience. You'll be sitting in a hotel room. But
in the rain.
Anyway, we're traveling tomorrow, so we won't be on the show, but Kaustubha will try to be on the show tomorrow, he said. All right. Yes. All right. That is all.
You got a nugget?
I got a great nugget
Even without Kaustubha?
Yes,
You got your
I
own
can
nugget?
live without Kaustubha. Actually, I
We
can't.
can't.
I can't live. I'm looking at the screen this morning. What do I do? This is from Goethe. Goethe. He was a great philosopher. Actually, let me tell you. Let me pull up Goethe. Why don't you pull up Goethe while I read this Goethe quote? Goethe. It's written like, if you're an American, you'd say Goethe. Goethe. Here's what he says. The way you see people is the way you treat them. And the way you treat them is what they become. Like that? The way you see people is the way you treat them. And the way you treat them is the way they become, is what they become. Another thing he said similar is, if you treat an individual as he is, they will remain as they are.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. This is our concept in the 6 pillars of Bhakti is, see the good in people, let them know it, or see people for their actual potential. Ever get in a position where people are holding you to something that you were? It's very, very disempowering. Sometimes you see someone that's why people hate, they have all this trauma for going home on the holidays, because they go to their older brothers or their older sisters or their mother, and they're reminding them of what they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And it's very disempowering.
Like when your mom's like, you're a spiller.
Yes,
You always
yes.
were a spiller.
Yes. When my mom called me the spiller when I was like 50 years old, home for Christmas, pouring a glass of orange juice. And she's like, don't spill that. You're the spiller.
Sorry.
And it's fun, not funny, but it's funny. And I was like, I'm not the spiller. I swear I don't spill anymore. But to be held to something that you did 20 years ago, it's a horrible thing. But to see people for their potential, and this is powerful in Bhakti, is as a teacher, as a friend, as a lover, as a parent, as a husband, as a wife, when you see somebody, you don't even see them for what they're doing. This is very difficult to do. See, we live in a culture that says, yeah, I've got a photo of you do something crazy or something that you said 20 years ago. We try to get like politicians on this, or we try to get celebrities on this. Here's a photo of you. And, when you were in a fraternity, 30 years ago. Here's the deal. Who cares what you did 30 years ago? I can change who I am today. We are beings in flux. And to hold someone to what they were 20 years ago and try to publicly shame them, come on. What kind of loving culture are we trying to create here? We've got to see people for what they can be. That is incredibly powerful. See people for their potential. And here's the interesting part of that, the caveat to that. Caviar. Hare Krishna. I love when people say Hare Krishna as like Hare Krishna. Sort of like erase that, Hare Krishna. The caveat to that is when you see people for what they can become, what is a spirit soul's potential? It's unlimited, isn't it? And actually, everybody's potential is incredibly unlimited. And I need to treat them like that and see them like that, not only if they're behaving like that, like if they're behaving in a great way, say, hey, Mary, you're doing something incredible. I saw you woke up early and then you cooked this thing and then you did such a great thing. Not just because you're doing that, but people who aren't doing anything good, instead of saying, you're doing a crappy thing today, or you did crappy things 20 years ago. No, you see deep under that mess, right? We see some people are a hot mess express. We get that. See underneath that hot mess express and see them for what they can be. That is transformative. And when you have people believing in you more than you can even believe in yourself, it helps you escape that incarnation of yourself. This is powerful in Bhakti. And in Bhakti, we have this thing that's incredibly inspiring or incredibly empowering is, instead of like shaming people and using a spiritual path or and for self-betterment, our diet, our health, our organic, produce, or what do people do? Religion, or,
Juicing.
learned juice fasting, or that wasn't directed to you, Roddy, Rachel, because you just did this long juice fast.
We're about to go do a juice fast too.
No, well, we're going to go to Costa Rica and just juice, and we're going to juice fast too. Roddy, Rachel inspired us. But whatever you use to lord it over other people in your self-betterment, animal rights, that's a big one too.
I mean, even your exercise or your
your
anything.
handstands, your meditation, how early you wake up or how much japa you chant, etc. Whatever you do to lord it over someone. Where am I even going with this? I've said too many examples, I can't remember. But we don't try to, shaming. We don't try to shame people into being better. Bad way to be. Telling somebody they're wrong is much different than inspiring someone to do what's right. This is the flag we're waving. Telling somebody they're wrong, you better hashtag this one, lady.
Got
it. Is much different than inspiring someone to do what's right. I'm curious out there because Kaustubha's not here. Can everybody hear Mara's little 2 cents? Give me a thumbs up on Zoom if you can hear Mara a little bit. That way she doesn't have to stick her giraffe neck over here front of my microphone because this is a special podcast microphone where you got to really speak into the mic. Anyway, that's the business we're in. We're live by example. Stop preaching to everybody. Just live. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's good. Somebody said that, right? Isn't that a quote?
Thomas Aquinas, I think. Don't live and sometimes speak, or live and sometimes preach, some people say. And look who's here. Braj Bihari, aka Brian Block, live on Zoom. If you want to join us on Zoom, you can do it. All you do is go to you email wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, and the Mara will give you the secret codes to get on our Zoom class. We have some new Zoomers here today, and it's just a little bit more fun. Matter of fact, we had a Zoom party this week because we had a whole 4-day little festival at Super Soul Farm. If you'd like to join us at Super Soul Farm, we're having another great event here over the 4th of July weekend. It's like the 1st through the 4th. It's fun. We all get together live, and we have kirtan. We're going to especially do a lot of kirtan this one, and it's the 4th of July.
I think people can bring their families. Is that right?
It's kid friendly.
Okay.
Go to our website, wisdomofthesages.com. It's a little kid friendly. I don't know if it's little kid friendly, but it's reasonably kid friendly. But I'm looking forward to it because coming together like that, we had people fly in from all over.
It's amazing.
And it was quite wonderful, actually. And Satchidananda Swami was there, which also helps it. So anyway, check that out. But truthfully, it's the joy. And again, in Bhakti-yoga, let's not think of this path as a path of cutting things out. We're just adding spirit. We're just adding spirituality to our life. And eventually, the ugly stuff goes away. The ugly stuff goes away. It just sort of melts away. We don't want it. If it's not helping me grow, it just goes away. We don't even have to think about giving it up. We'll lose a taste for it. I don't think of this as a path of giving stuff up. No, it's the path of adding Krishna. Who is Krishna? He's a divine, charming, adorable, all-loving form of God, right? A loving form of God. And when you add Krishna to your life, you naturally want to let go of the lower taste things, lower taste habits, lower taste conversation, lower taste vibes. Okay. So we're going to get into anything else I have to say?
I don't think so.
I think that's it. Thank you, Mara. I had something I wanted to say about caves, but I can't tie it into our theme.
I think that's squirrel.
That is a squirrel. Okay. Oh, speaking of squirrel, I saw listen to this.
Porcupines?
All squirrels all day. Welcome to Raghunath. I've seen 2 porcupines in person in my life, and they happened to be in the last month. Yesterday, I saw 2 porcupines.
One of them was really big.
All right, this is what I was telling Kaustubha about the kangaroo story, where it wasn't like a Krishna miracle, where that kangaroo and me connected deeply. We looked at each other's eyes, and it wasn't like Krishna was there, but it was a deep, spiritual connection I had with that kangaroo. If you missed that crazy story, I was doing yoga naked in the jungle on a 21-day fast, and the kangaroo would come to me every morning. And we had like some type of weird, holy, trans animal communion, trans species communion. So there was a miracle of sorts. Seeing 2 porcupines yesterday was another, not a Krishna miracle. Can we think of that of something, another name for that? And don't write coincidence on the board. It's beyond a coincidence. Coincidences don't happen. That is something like some type of animal. There must be.
Spirit
Can
animal?
you look up what the spirit animal of porcupine means? Maybe there's a message. Maybe it's like, don't fly. Porcupine means don't get on a jet. Serendipity, maybe, yes. But that doesn't make sense.
This makes sense.
Uh-oh. Here's the spirit animal.
I don't know.
Porcupine.
I lost it now. Well, the sweet porcupine is a gentle vegetarian who walks a quiet, solitary path.
What? Gentle vegetarian who walks say that again.
Who walks a quiet, solitary path.
A quiet, solitary path. Oh my God. This is a Krishna miracle.
I know. Okay, porcupine can teach you many things. It offers the vision of your inner child filled with playfulness, innocence, and curiosity.
This was not prepared.
It also shows you a balance between boldness and peace. Sometimes shamans believe the porcupine spirit sometimes brings messages from the ancestors, so listen closely.
Oh my God, messages from the ancestors. What does that
Well, it's also time to look at any vulnerabilities you have
mean?
and measure them. Teaches you everyone can be
I'm
hard.
always looking at my vulnerabilities. That's why I had an emotional wreck.
A porcupine teaches you everyone can be hard on the outside and soft on the inside at times.
Okay, maybe I gotta be a little harder.
The external shields have a purpose, weeding out those energies that aren't healthy.
Okay.
Your inner world remains open to the touch of a gentle soul and true love.
All right. Okay. All right.
One more. Sorry,
All right,
everything
keep going.
seems to work. Another message from the porcupine spirit animal is living life with joy and in simplicity. People often complicate their lives, and over time it robs them of many pleasures. Don't get caught up in the chaos. Slow down.
What's that got to do with a porcupine?
Ask the porcupine spirit animal.
Okay. There we go. Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before I start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunadatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Mara?
Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 21, Text 33.
All right. Mara's my page turner today.
I can never
Thank you.
get the thing.
There we
go,
go.
sorry.
She's
Okay.
Oh, there you go. So Prithu Maharaj, I'm going to be rewind Raghu here. Prithu is glorifying Lord Vishnu. Prithu Maharaj advised his citizens. Okay. I can't even look at the message board without Kaustubha being here. This is so fun. Prithu Maharaj advised his citizens, engaging your minds, your words, your bodies, and the results of your occupational duties, right? Your occupational, that's self-explanatory, your dharma. And being always open-minded, you should all render devotional service to the Lord. According to your abilities and the occupations in which you are situated, you should engage your service at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full confidence and without reservation. Wow, that's nice. Then you will surely be successful in achieving the final objective in your lives, right? We have many objectives in our lives. I've got to, like, for example, I have a list of things today I have to do. Includes my samadhi of riding the lawnmower to the riding mower. If anyone out there mows lawns, it's like it's like the closest thing I get to samadhi is like complete bliss. But we have some like duties that we have in the course of the day, but then we will surely be successful in achieving our final objective. That's our final objective, right? According to your abilities and occupation. We all have our objectives of why we're living and why we're working in this world. And they should be aligned with our liberation somehow. Our work should be aligned with our liberation. And if it's not, you got to think how I can create a bridge from what I'm doing today to my ultimate emancipation from this material frame. So if we're new to this, we're like, well, I never even thought about emancipation of my material frame. It's time to think about this. It's time to think of like, what am I doing today? And what does it have to do with liberation? Okay. Now it could be, well, I'm just going to create some time in the course of my day for some, right? Our method of self-realization is meditation on Sri Krishna. And we do that through sound. We don't do that through shutting up the sound. We do that through sound, visualization, and visualization includes deity or pictures. It includes chanting mantras, Maha Mantra. It includes singing. It includes preparing food, offering food with devotion. And it's to really resurrect devotion towards the Supreme Lord, our higher power, our source. Create some time in the morning, in the evening. And then in the course of the day, there's remembering, right? We might have something in the workplace, and some of us have a family to support. Sometimes we're parents, and we can of little children, and we again, by living by example, we give that to the child. We see Karuna, she's 8 years old, she's from Lebanon, and you can see her parents in the background. They're playing kirtan all the time. They're reading and they're teaching her sacred literature or wisdom literature. For a young kid to hear wisdom, it doesn't quite make sense for a kid who hasn't, for most kids, but it's like a game for them. When I first got married, my wife had 2 little children, and I didn't know anything about kids. All I knew was the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata. So I said, I'm just going to teach them that. And so I just taught them shlokas. I taught them verses from the Bhagavad Gita to learn. And for children, what it is, it's sort of like, it's a game. Let's play, learn the shloka. And, if for parents, you could write one on the board, write one on a blackboard in your house. Every time we go through this threshold of the doorway, we're going to read this shloka, And then what it is for a child, it's a game of memory. Instead of learning all the crazy things we learn, what's that one? Look this one up. What's the one? Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Ring around the rosy, a pocket. That's what I learned. Yeah. Then later I find out that song's about the plague. Oh. Google that. Ring around the rosy. So it's like, why not teach them a sloka? Why not teach them the sloka in song? Someone's already on it, Mayor. I'm checking the message board. Aramar says, yes, it is. No, I wanted the whole story, Aramar. Anyway, the idea is that you just playing kirtan in your house, listening to lectures in your house, it sinks in, it seeps in. And these kids, they take these shlokas, and as they go through puberty, right, and maturity, like an acorn, it starts to sprout, and it starts to take root, and it affects them. These stories affect them as they grow older. These Puranic stories, right? These kids' comic books of the Amar Chitra Katha comic books of the Mahabharata. These archetypes of Arjuna, the archetypes of Duryodhana, of Krishna, they all start to come alive, take root, and then they affect the child as they grow. When they become 17, 18, 25, 35, 45. Now when I read the Ramayana, it's much different than when I read it when I was 23. Mara, ring around the rosy. Okay, you got some morbid information about this is what we were chanting as children. These are the mantras I was chanting. Ready?
Ring around the rosy meant the itchy rash around the infected sore of a person sick with the plague. Pocket full of posies were the flower petals that plague doctors showered upon the deceased patients, which also helped ward off their odor. And then the ashes meant the cremated remains of the deceased.
Yeah, let's make a song about that. Good morning. Oh, that's a morbid song. How did I hear about that? Okay. All right. Oh, you want to hear a Krishna miracle? All right, Mara, tell your no, it's not a squirrel. I don't know what it is. There's a little bit of a squirrel, but it's a good squirrel. Mara, tell your Krishna miracle about. So here's Mara working at her work. Oh, yeah. Can we say this? Is it proper to say this? She's in the office, so to speak, and she's a chef, and she's preparing her food, and she's got a new assistant that's 20 years old. And you got to understand, me and Mara and a bunch of us, Tom Essig and We all live in Gopal Chandra. We all, and Bobby Marchand, we all live in the sticks. You know,
Yeah.
we live in the middle of nowhere in upstate New York. Mara, check out the story from Mara. Right?
Okay. And so I really needed her help on Saturday, and she could only
Tell the you don't who.
What? Am I a new person?
Yeah, you're a new person. You got a 20-year-old new person.
Okay, so I got this 20-year-old new person.
Yes.
And so she comes into work for me, and I was like, yeah, you can come in first thing in the morning, but I have this podcast that I do, so you can't ask me any questions. I'm, focused only on the computer essentially, but I can get you started on the kitchen prep stuff before the podcast begins. And so she's like, oh yeah, okay, no problem, sure. Yeah, you do the Wisdom of the Sages podcast. Like,
she knew you did the Wisdom of the Sages podcast.
What? And she's like, oh yeah, I know the Wisdom of the Sages podcast. I used to listen to it. I was like, really? You did? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I really like learning about stuff. I listened to the Wisdom of the Sages podcast for a while. Now I'm really into basketball podcasts. It's like, all right.
The point is here. Yeah, it's amazing. And I think that's a win for us. Not that she stopped listening to it, now listens to basketball, but a win for us is we have to make this very esoteric stuff very, very approachable for people, that they get a taste for it. And they may not have a taste for understanding Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan and the gopis and but extract the very practical, useful things for people. We got to tell a friend, like we say, tell a friend Friday. We got to tell a friend every day, because there's a lot of people that may not feel like they need it now, but they're going to need it soon. They're going to need spiritual knowledge soon. And we have to be assisting them in creating a bridge to very, very high esoteric topics when they're going through struggle, loss, when the rug gets pulled out from underneath them. We have to be super spreaders of the holy name. I upcycled that word, super spreaders of the holy name. Okay. I thought that was a Krishna miracle. We're in the middle of nowhere and she meets someone listening to the sages. That's like when I ran into our good friend, I can't even think of his name anymore. He's not on the show anymore, from Old Chatham.
Oh yeah, Richard O.
You like that, Martine? Upcycled that word. Okay. All right, continuing on with the Bhagavatam. 34. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental. This is Maharaj Pretu. We are the Superspreaders. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is transcendental and not contaminated by this material world. But although he is concentrated spirit soul without material variety for the benefit of the conditioned soul, he nevertheless accepts different types of sacrifice performed with various material elements, rituals, and mantras, and offered to the demigods under the different names according to the interests and purposes of the performers. Okay, there's many, many different ways to approach the personality of Godhead. There's many, many different rishis and sages who give instructions how to move forward. In our lineage, the yajna we perform is the sacrifice of the speech, right? When you hear this, like the sacrifice, the Sankirtan yajna, right? Kirtan means, right, to sing or to speak, actually, right? And the Sankirtan means together, right? The Sangha of the Kirtan, we come together. And the yajna is the sacrifice. So what does sacrifice mean? We think of like, I always say this, it means like I almost said capoeira. What's the thing they do with the sacrifice and the chicken in the Caribbean? Not capoeira. Santeria. It sounds like capoeira. We think of like the sacrifice. No, we're sacrificing the stupid things I'm going to say all day long for sacred things. That's the sacrifice. I'm going to sacrifice all these foolish things that tend to flow out of my mouth with transcendental things. That's important. And so that's the sacrifice we're doing. And it's okay. We're just going to stick a cork in my mundane mouth and just let spiritual things flow out of my mouth. And by doing so, we call Krishna to us. And you know what's interesting? Krishna is very, very eager to come to us, right? Our source wants to reclaim us more than we want to be reclaimed, right? That's why. And different people will say this in different spiritual paths, even people like these self-help people. They'll say the same thing, like, there is something instinctual, because you can feel this. Any person with a little intuition, not just like Krishna Bhaktas, anyone with a little moving towards light instead of darkness, and there definitively is a difference between moving towards light and darkness. I think it's safe to say there are light things in this world, helping people, serving people, caring for people, loving people, being gentle, right? Feeding people, right? Or addiction, pornography, human trafficking, violence. What else? Anyway, there's definitely light and darkness. Do not say it's all one, people. Do not say this. This is silly philosophy that you can't hold. You can't live that philosophy. It is definitely different. Moving towards light. Anyone who's moving towards light, instead, they will get some internal desire or internal current to say, I'm getting called to upgrade my life. I'm getting called to upgrade my life. You feel that? It should. You will feel that. If you don't, you will feel that. And it doesn't end. It's not like, now I'm saved. Now we're not saved. We are on a ladder now. You can still go down the ladder. This whole concept of I'm saved because I believe. Okay, now act accordingly. Don't just, it's a cop-out to say, I believe and I'm saved. That's really, come on. Now you have to act accordingly. And that's going to be tested every moment of every day. And then we slowly we get faith as we move forward in small increments. And sometimes I fall down the ladder a little and I got to get back up there. That's okay. That happens too. That's why we have a community to help lift us when we're down, because I can't always be up. I got to get lifted up by a community. Okay. Continuing on. I'm like sweating. I get so worked up, I sweat when I speak. Isn't that grotesque? Hare Krishna.
First time the teacher of a Bhagavatam class has ever said that.
Maybe for the first time in the Bhagavatam class, the speaker has ever said that he sweats. There's a lot of first times here on Wisdom of the Sages. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is all pervading, but he is also manifested in different types of bodies, which arise from a combination of material nature, time, desires, and dharma. Thus, different types of consciousness develop, just as fire, which is always basically the same, blazes in different ways according to the shape and dimension of the firewood. I'll continue. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master and the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. And he is the supreme spiritual master as well. All of you citizens on the surface of the globe who have a relationship with me and are worshiping him by dint of your dharma, your occupational duties, are bestowing your mercy upon me. Therefore, O my citizens, I thank you. The Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas are personally glorified by their characteristic powers of tolerance, penance, knowledge, and education. By dint of all these spiritual assets, Vaishnavas are more powerful than royalty. It is therefore advised that the princely order not exhibit its material prowess before these two communities and should avoid offending them. Okay, that's your phone. Where's my phone? What was I just reading? I was with Gopal Chandra yesterday. And we were reading, me and Gopal Chandra. Gopal's on this very critical, the final test, right? He's like taking everything he learned in Bhakti and he's preparing to leave his body. And I love the fact that we can even, Gopal, I think he's live today, we can even talk about this on the show because we're past, and maybe not 100% past, and I don't want to speak presumptuously, but but a lot of the dramatic I'm dying stuff that comes with that. Now we're trying to, I'm trying to too. Being with Gopal is really helping me grow. And I said that during the interview day that he's been a greatest asset in my spiritual life, because I get to see a man who I quote got into this. I got into Bhakti, but I get to see him now getting me deeper into my Bhakti. And I'm learning how to apply all the spiritual knowledge. When you're losing your, what to speak of everything, you're losing your own body. And it's quite beautiful. I've had some great deep realizations. And so we've been reading the story of quick little synopsis. King Bart was a great king, but like Gopal, well, no. Well, King Bart, he was retiring and he was very old, but he did everything good in his life, right? Like he was a great king. He was a noble king. He was a dharmic king. He was trained from childhood in Dharma. And then he had all these material affairs to take care of. He was a king. So he was a politician, a diplomat, a parent, a leader, a husband. And then he prepared to die and he went to the forest, to a holy place. And he was practically a perfected being. Oh man, my camera is off.
No,
Okay.
They were saying you froze.
I
And
froze.
so Sebastian was asking if they should turn off their cameras.
I don't know. Anyway, where was I? So Maharaj Bharat, he was hit this very, very high level of his spiritual evolution. And then, sitting, it's an interesting thing when you go outside and sit, like that other day, I was sitting by the Naga Kund and I was sitting there and these two snakes, I was sitting very still. These two snakes came out and they crossed paths. I watched these two northern water snakes swim right by me. When you sit in the forest, you see magical things. So he saw a very pregnant deer drinking water from the sacred river Ganga. And he thought, oh, how lovely. But then at the same time, he saw a jungle cat attack the very pregnant deer, killing the deer. And then the deer, out of fear, gave birth to this baby fawn. And the fawn got swept down the river. And so he's sitting there in meditation, watching this drama unfold before him. And he runs to get the baby deer. And what else would he do, right? And he ran. And in that running, he whatever, I don't know the drama behind it, but he dove in the water, got the deer. And then he was like, okay, deer. Now he took care of the deer and, okay, pet the deer. Here's deer. What do you need? Give him a little milk. I don't know how he fed the deer, but whatever it is, he took care of that deer. Then he put that deer down and he said, okay, now deer, you're good. I got to get back to my meditation. And he sat there in meditation, but of course the deer wanted little snuggles, little daddy snuggles. Like, you're my new mama. I was like, come on, I can't be your new mama. I'm in meditation. I'm an old man now. I'm going to be ready to die at any moment. But sure enough, that deer was just like sort of snuggling him up. And he's like, come on, deer, stop snuggling. And sure enough, he couldn't help it. The deer thought it was his mother. So he had to take care of this deer. And then he ever see a baby deer? They're quite adorable. They're cute. They're cute. And they sort of like stumble around on their lousy legs because they can't fully support their body. And it's quite charming, just like a toddler. And you're just like, oh my God, you're so adorable. And so he's trying to perform self-realization. At the same time, he's completely charmed by this baby deer. And in the purport, Prabhupada said, you might forget death, but death does not forget you. Isn't that great? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's great, but it's like very, very heavy statement. You might forget death, right? In the water park of material existence, you might forget death. Woohoo, it's a water park. That's like the ultimate joy, or whatever your water park is in the material world. It might be like, we're having a baby. Woo! I mean, those are wonderful things. Don't get me wrong. But having a baby is a wonderful thing. Hey, we're going to an amusement park for a kid. It's like a water park. Woo! Hey, we're going to Hawaii. Woo! Hey, I'm moving to Hawaii. Woo! Hey, whatever. What do people think supreme joy is? We're going to Disneyland. Woo! We're going to Italy. Woo!
Buying our dream home.
We're buying our dream home. Woo! What else? Give me some. People put it on the message board. What is your woo of the material world? Nothing, Mara? Look alive, Mara.
On the
Come
message board.
on.
I was reading the message board, waiting for somebody to put something on there.
We're going to Vrindavan. Okay, that's a spiritual woo. Okay.
Hamilton on Broadway.
We're going to Hamilton on Broadway. Woo! I got tickets.
Making
Orchestra.
$1 million.
We're making $1 million. I got a raise. Okay, these are all woos. My son is using the potty. Woo! We're going to Chile. Woo! Okay, Chile. We're out of debt. Woo! Okay, all right, enough woos, everybody. It's Woo Wednesday. Yeah, that's what this is. It's Woo Wednesday. All are things that are like woo in the material world. In that woo world Wednesday, we forget about reality, that our bodies are temporary. Hey, I got a new tractor. Woo! Thinking about getting a new tractor. We're going to Costa Rica, get our teeth fixed. Woo! Okay, in that woo-ness, we forget about the ultimate reality, that our life is like a drop of water teetering, right? Ever see a drop of water teeter on a lotus petal? Or ever see water on a duck's back? It beads and it rolls off very quickly. That's your human existence. I'm looking at Sebastian. I'm looking at Roger Tompkins. I'm looking at Robert from Bowling Green. I'm looking at Megan McDonald G. I'm looking at Ramit. Our lives are teetering like a drop of water on a lotus petal, and it could roll off in a moment. Woo! That gets scary. And so this is, Prabhupada writes in that purport, you might forget death in your woo world, but death hasn't forgot you. So Judd Bart dies meditating on the deer. He sacrificed great for pretty good. What's pretty good? He loves this nice little deer. I don't think I'd do anything different either. You know, I don't think I'd be like, get out of here, deer. But he sacrificed pretty good. He sacrificed great for pretty good. And because of that, it was demonstrated that what you're meditating at the time of death, yam yam vapi smaram babam tyajanti anti kalevaram. What you meditate on, that's where you go. That's what you become. He became a baby deer, but it wasn't a normal deer because it was very evolved. He was a deer in full consciousness of what he had done and what he should do. So he was a very renounced deer. He only drank Ganga water. He hung out with the sages because he took birth in this holy place. And he just ate the remnants of the food of the sages. And he understood in his next life. And then he took birth again. And he took birth in a very, very high class evolved family. But he, in his heart of hearts, he said, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not getting sucked into the material world again. I'm going to, and he chose this, I'm going to act like the village idiot. I'm not going to get entangled with anything. I'm going to be very, very focused on the Supreme Personality of Godhead internally, and I'm going to act like I have no brains whatsoever. And so he went through his whole lifetime as if he was the village idiot. And then finally, he got picked up by, long story, but he got picked up by the king, Maharaj Rahugana. Now, Maharaj Rahugana, he was a very interesting guy because he was actually trained in Vedic life. And he was actually quite learned. But he got picked up to be one of the carriers of Maharaj Rahugana's palanquin. And that's how the kings would carry. So you get like 6 big guys to carry the palanquin around. And he was one of them. They needed another guy. So, all right, here's this big lunkhead of a guy. We're going to get this guy, this jughead, and we're going to have him carrier. By the way, he wasn't a jughead. He was a Supreme Personality of Godhead, pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that's how they looked at him. They just looked at, here's this big oaf. I'm going to get this big oaf to carry the palanquin. That's what they thought. So as he's carrying the palanquin, he didn't do such a very good job because he's conscious of every little bug on the ground. So instead of walking straight, he's like, oh, there's an ant. And he jumps. There's another ant and he moves. There's a whole bunch of ants. And he's like dancing around carrying the palanquin. And the king is getting bounced up and down. And then the king, so furious, like, who is this idiot jumping up and down, ruining my walk? What is he doing? And he's explaining, well, there's little bugs in the ground. little bugs. You're making me bounce around for some little bugs. And he went to like chastise him and beat him. And then all of a sudden, Judd Bart flipped the story around and he started saying, you think you're a great king? You're an illusion. These ants could be great kings in their next lives. Their spirit souls, just like your spirit soul, just because you have some temporary identity that you're so great. Don't you understand this body is a rented vehicle? And therefore we should have dignity for all living beings. And he started laying heavy truths to Maharaj Rahugana. And Maharaj Rahugana, being cultured, after hearing this heavy, heavy sauce, that's what we used to call it when we lived in the ashram. We say, oh man, I got the sauce. That means we got chastised by our guru. He bowed down. The king himself bowed down to Judd Bart and accepted this guy is speaking the words of God here. And Maharaj Rahugana said something very beautiful. He said, I am not scared of Yamaraj, right? Yamaraj is like the Lord of death, right? I wonder if we could call Yamaraj like the Grim Reaper. Maybe. I don't know if you can call him that. Braj Bihari, what do you think about that? Could you call Yamaraj the Grim Reaper? I'm not sure. Okay. You write it up on the board, Braj Bihari. Where was I? Maharaj Rahugana said, I'm not scared of death. I'm not scared of Lord Shiva's trident. I'm not scared of, can't remember. He said something else, like something that we should all be scared of. I'm not scared of that. But what I am scared of is which I just did. I just offended a Vaishnava. Mm-hmm. I just offended a Vaishnava. And offending a Vaishnava, this is the worst thing I could do for my spiritual life. Making offenses towards a person, right? And we just read all these things, right? Vaishnavas are more powerful than royalty. It is therefore advised that the princely order not exhibit its material prowess before these two communities and should avoid offending them. Offending a Vaishnava is the worst thing we could do for our spiritual life. I don't care how many kirtans you've been to. I don't care how many times you go to holy places or pilgrimages. I don't care how much Sanskrit you learn, how great you do yoga, right? It is the worst thing we could do. Ever play that game like, it's Gnipkanop, not Gnipkanop. It's Kerplunk. It's Kerplunk where we like pull the straw, we pull out one little toothpick and all the marbles come down.
Or like Jenga.
Jenga. Or Connect Four where you pull the thing out and all the checker pieces come down. Whatever it is, we're losing it all with one stupid thing that's coming out of my mouth instead of one sacred thing coming out of my mouth. And this is super important. Do not offend great souls. And you see this happen again and again, not just to newbies. Sometimes newbies are very delicate with their hands folded. It's people who've been around the block in Bhakti. They've been around the block and they get drawn into some gossip. It's usually some philosophical debate of like where the soul came from or the position of whatever it is. You're getting set up oftentimes to make offenses. Don't make offenses. Catch your tongue. Let God be the judge. You don't have to be the judge. Let God be the judge of the person's doings. Be super careful. You can discern, but don't condemn. Ooh, I like that one.
Discern.
Hashtag that. Discern, but don't condemn. Chapu writes in the purport. In the Shastras, it is found that a very great yogi, Durvas Muni, committed a Vaishnav aparad, offense to a Vaishnav, and thus for 1 full year had to travel all over the universe, even to Vaikuntha Loka, to defend himself from the offense. At last, even when he approached the personality of Godhead in Vaikuntha, he was refused protection. Therefore, one should be careful about committing offenses at the feet of a Vaishnav, right? Why? Because there is a community of people that are moving towards light and they become dear to the personality of Godhead. I think that makes sense. Okay, Mara. I could just keep going. I got a big mouth. When Kaustubha's not here, I just roll.
It is 7 o'clock.
It's 7 o'clock. We gotta stop.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do takeaways. You want to cue up the music?
Oh yes.
That's your question. We are beings in flux. See people.
All right, well, wait a second. I want to comment on this.
All right.
Okay, go ahead. We're being in. Okay, yes.
See people for their potential.
See people for the potential. It's a big one.
You can't shame people into being better.
Nope. No. And if you do, they don't change. Shaming them doesn't make them change. If anything, try it as a parent. See how good that works as a parenting skill. Shame your kids into changing, right? We want to shame society. We think, yeah, we're going to change this society by shaming them. No, if you actually are a loving person, you'll change them by example. Boo. Yeah. Okay.
Which is also telling someone they're wrong is different than inspiring someone to do what's right.
It's a big one.
French Vihari wrote, in any situation we can ask, what is my service? Generally, that would tell us that offending others is not our service. It's a good one.
I like that, Braja
Yeah.
Bihari. Brian Block, can you change your name to Braja Bihari, please, so we can just see it?
I don't think you can.
You can't. Okay,
I think we
forget
have to
it.
change it. Let's see. We aren't cutting things out. We're adding spirit.
We're not cutting things out. We're adding spirit. Booyah.
Our work should be aligned with our liberation.
Build that bridge. How about that one?
Build
that bridge. Build that bridge. Build the bridge to from your work to liberation.
Okay. Sacrifice foolish speech for transcendental sound.
Sankirtan Yagya.
We're getting called to upgrade our life.
The clarion call.
This body is a rented vehicle.
Yep.
Offending a Vaishnava is losing at Kerplunk.
I like that one.
And
Who's that?
I did that.
Oh, you did that. Okay. All right.
Be super spreaders of the holy name.
Woo! Wait a second. There it is. Thanks, everybody. That was fun. We're going to get our teeth done
Monsoon.
during the monsoon. So we're going to try to get Kaustubha back tomorrow if you're listening every day on Zoom. Thanks everybody for joining us. I hope I didn't hope it wasn't too boring here today without Kaustubha here.
Boring.
And what else do I have to say today? Remember, wisdomofsages.com. Go to
Events.
not events. Go to Sage Academy for our Wisdom of Sages in 4th of July. Excited for that. Yeah, for a weekend. Yeah, we are just replacing our mundane barbecues with transcendental barbecues. And Mare will be making her famous vegan meatball subs. We're quite excited for that as well. Thanks to everybody for, huh?
I feel like you talk them up too much. I don't want people to be disappointed.
No, well, they're good. That's why. These vegan meatball subs, they can make you Krishna conscious. Well, the thing is, they're prasad. They're cooked with love, offered with love. Then you eat them with love. It's like you're eating love. Get it? Everything is about re-loving our material senses. I've been doing things out of selfishness instead of love. Everything, my thoughts, selfishness, my actions, selfishness, right? My work for selfishness. Now I'm going to flip that switch. It's all going to be for love. What would you think about that?